Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Ethos Online. Again, this is a place where you can be, belong, and become the very best version of yourselves. So as always, please consider donating. The link is right there. Partner with us. And as always, again, please hit subscribe. Subscribe, share these videos with people. We think they have life-changing benefits for people when they understand the deeper teachings of Jesus. So wherever you're joining us from, welcome. We are on the last bit of chapter 5 of the Sermon on the Mount. And typically when you read the Sermon on the Mount, most people around chapter 5, they'll leave. They'll stop the reading. They won't read on to chapter 6, chapter 7. But what we're going to do here is we think the whole thing hums. And so we're going to keep going through chapter 6 and chapter 7s. We're going to do it verse by verse because there's so much goodness there. But today we're going to finish off with chapter 5. But again, a recap, the Sermon on the Mount is again this beautiful moment where there's this Jewish concept of the rabbi, Moses, going up the mountain, beginning to share the deeper understandings of what it's like to be human. So again, Jesus goes up on the mount. He does what Moses did. He shares the deeper critique of what the law says, how to live in harmony with one another. And again, if you are these people reading it at this time, 70 AD just post, you are again in a place of hurting. You're in a place of brokenness. You just saw most of your tribe murdered. You saw your temple where your God resides broken. And now you're saying, where's our hope? Where's our identity? Who are we? In the response, the Jesus message, which is shared all over the Roman Empire, is this: you are where spirituality happens. It is ridiculous to say that is spiritual and that's not, because Jesus says everywhere you go, spirituality happens, because you are the living, breathing, walking temples. That's the beautiful message. And how do we do it? How do we become the temples? This is the framework, Sermon on the Mount. Again, it's the Law 2.0. And so we've gone through all of the blessings, and now we're delving into some deeper critiques of just what daily life looks like when you're living shalom. And so today, we're going to talk about scarcity and abundance. Because again, at the end of this teaching in chapter 5, what you'll see Jesus say is, all of this works, but if you don't have this, it gets really problematic. And I think at the end of this conversation, you'll probably agree as well. And so let's delve into this heart of gratitude, this idea of abundance versus scarcity. And so we can find it here, Matthew 5, 43 through 48. So let me just read to you the quote from Matthew 5 here, this last piece of chapter 5. Here we go. Again, always you have heard it said, right? You've heard it said, referring back, but I say this in the present. So here we go. You've heard it said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemies, bless those cursing you. Do good to those hating you, pray for those insulting you and persecuting you, so that you become sons of your Father in heaven. Because he makes his sun rise on the wicked and on the good, and sends rain on the righteous and on the unrighteous. For if you love those loving you, what reward have you? Kind of makes sense, right? It's easy to love people we like. Let's see. For if you love those loving you, what reward have you? Are the tax collectors not doing the same too? And if you greet your brothers only, what do you do more than the others? Are the tax collectors not doing so too? Therefore, be perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. Now, anyone listening to this who has read these before, ever heard a sermon before, this is going to take some unpacking, isn't it? Because there are so many little phrases here that have been pulled out of context in the past and used in some very interesting, weird, combative ways. So what I want to do with you right now is I'm just going to take little segments and let's look at what these mean, especially within the context of this actual verse. So here we go. You have heard it said, you shall love your neighbor, hate your enemy. Again, that's how the ancients did it. We love each other, but the Assyrians, no. Like, they're evil, they're bad, they're idolaters, they're not Jewish. We hate them, right? But Jesus says, love your enemies, bless those cursing you, Do good to those hating you, pray for those insulting you and persecuting you so that you become sons of your Father in the heavens. Again, think about this. You just watched your own people murdered at the hands of the Romans. You just wanted your land back. And now they just destroyed your temple. And they murdered thousands and thousands of your community. And Jesus' message is not revolt, not take up your arms. It is this. It's love your enemies. That is not an easy pill to swallow. But again, when you understand the deeper context, Jesus is quoting what they used to do. Again, Leviticus 19:18. You must not take revenge or bear a grudge against the children of your people, but you must love your neighbor as yourself. Think about this now. In the past, love was given to the people who agree with me. Love is given to the people on my Facebook page that help me create a nice, comfy echo chamber. Right? I love those people. Those people are great because they all agree with me. They all look like me. They talk like me. They have the same political, religious way that I do. I love those people. I heart every message they send, right? But what Jesus is saying here now is the old way was doing that. The new way is finding a way to love the people, the trolls that get on your Facebook account, the angry people in your life that always bring you down. The new way to be human is to learn to love them. And the new way to be human is not to see only people you like as your neighbor. The new way, because again, neighbor in the past, it meant like a family member or a community member or someone you had interactions with. That's what neighbor was before. But what Jesus does here is he redefines neighbor. He says, everyone's your neighbor. Everyone is your family. Everyone is your community. Again, if you're Jewish, Jesus is saying everyone's Jewish. Again, picture that. Everyone is your neighbor. Everyone deserves to be loved. That is the new way to be human. And it's beautiful. Am I right? That's beautiful. Jesus completely redefines what it means to be a neighbor, a community member, a family. Everyone is family. And if you're at odds with family, well, they're family, right? You got to deal with it because they're family. You can't escape family. You get it? Beautiful. Let me keep going. Next portion. Because he makes his sun rise on the wicked and on the good and sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. Now think about this. Agrarian culture. I want the sun. I want the rain. The sun and the rain are gifts, right? Now back then, people sometimes believed, maybe like today, they believed that if I pray for something, being a good person, a righteous person, I'm going to get what I deserve. I'm going to get good things. But the person down the road who doesn't believe the same as me, who might not have the same political or religious views, when bad things happen to them, well, that's God punishing them. But what Jesus is saying here completely flips the script. He says, no. Blessings come from God, right? The idea here, the divine gives blessings to everyone, whether you deserve them or not. Whether you've done good or bad, blessings are just what happens because that's what the divine is. Interesting, right? And so there's a deeper point here. There are two kinds of people in this world. They're the kind of people who live in scarcity. They're always wanting to get mine, right? When there are water shortages, we're in the middle of this coronavirus scare, right? Everyone is grabbing antibiotics and soaps and masks and all this stuff because this is scarcity, right? I need to get mine. But then there's also a group of people who say this. There's enough for everyone. There is abundance in the world. There's an abundance in the world of blessings. And just by you having a blessing doesn't mean I don't get one. We all get blessings. Blessings fall on all of us, just like negative things fall on all of us. It's just part of what this world is. This world is free to be free. It's a world. And so good and bad things happen. Blessings are in abundance. And so I don't have to hold onto them so scarcely. I don't have to live in scarcity, cursing you every time a good thing happens. I can celebrate with you knowing that at some point I'm going to have abundance too. And if we're celebrating and living that way in community, then we are always in a place of abundance. That's the beautiful thing Jesus is saying here. That's not communist or socialism. That's a Jesusism, right? That's a new way to be human. That's a way to say we can love one another and live in abundant love together. When that happens, there is abundance everywhere. I would choose to be an abundant person over a scarce one. I want to live in abundance rather than scarcity. When I do that, I find shalom everywhere I go. Let me continue. There's more. Toward the end, for if you love those loving you, what reward have you? Are the tax collectors not doing the same thing too? If you greet your brothers only, what do you do more than others? Are the tax collectors not doing that too? Think about this. It's really easy, again, to like people that like me. It takes absolutely no work. But if you want to do a soul check, if you want to see how far you've come, see how you respond to the people who don't like you, the people who don't agree with you. If you want to do a soul check and see where you really are, watch your reaction when people are mean to you. If you can turn and say, I'm sorry you feel that way. Anything I can do for you? If your response is that, then there's a pretty good gauge telling you you are following the teachings of Jesus. Not that you're better or worse, but you are slowly beginning to live this thing called the gospel. Learn to love the people that are hardest to love. Man, you don't have too many obstacles in your life that are going to get in your way. You can move through them. If you can love those who are unlovable, the world becomes a much easier place to live and thrive. And then lastly, this one is always interesting to me. I grew up in a tribe where they used to say, we want to be perfect like our Father's perfect. And we had this idea back in the back of our minds that someday, if we did all the right things, we prayed the right prayers, we went to church on the right day, we did this, didn't do this, wore this, didn't wear that, bought this, didn't buy that. If we did all of this at some point in time, we would be perfect. Many of us even believe that someday we'll go to up there, right? We'll go up there, heaven, and then we'll be perfect. But think about the concept of perfect, because it's not actually a Hebrew idea. The Jews didn't have a word for this. The Greeks did. The Romans did. They were infatuated with the idea of perfection. And so when you look at sculptures, you'll notice they are perfectly designed, right? Everything's perfect. It's a statue. But they knew deep down that is unattainable. Because deep behind the idea of perfection is the static state of being. Essentially, you've come, you've arrived, that's it. You're just it. And if you really get to the heart of that, it's pretty boring, right? You've perfected everything. What are you going to do? Again, we have this idea of heaven being you go up there, you're perfect. What do you do? Because here's the thing, being human, we make mistakes, we learn from them. It's what kind of keeps us alive. It gives us something to thrive for. Without conflict, there is no story. Think about a compelling story you've read lately, or maybe a movie you've watched. If that story had no conflict, it would be boring, because life needs conflict in order to experience growth. And that's why for many of us now, we're saying a static state of being, perfection, that's what heaven's going to be like. I'll take the other. Am I right? That sounds like hell. However, life is dynamic. It's changing. It's moving. There's change. There's growth. There's mistakes. All of that helps move us along to become better and better human beings. Not that we ever arrive, but we continue growing. And that's the beauty here. And so Jesus is not saying be perfect as in a static state of being. The word here, it actually means something different. It actually makes sense. The word here for perfection, perfect, is actually a word that means maturity. It's like this. You pick a fruit off a tree. You don't want to pick the fruit when it's still green, right? Most fruits. You want to pick the fruit when it's had time to ripen, because when it's ripened, it's sweet. It tastes good. It's had time to mature. The flavors have kind of come together. The thing is good. You don't pick the thing ripe unless you're my wife and you get green bananas. Weirdos. You want the fruit ripe because that's when it is sweetest. And so the idea here that Jesus is saying is not static state of being. It's learn to be mature. Learn to be wise. Learn to be the person that sees the bigger picture. Because when you see the bigger picture, when you become the wise individual, when you can say, whoa, everyone's freaking out right now. The media is going crazy over this and this and this and this. Let me step back and ask some questions about this. Let me be a level-headed person, right? Let me be the one that says, wait a second. I've learned in my life that life is really pretty abundant, not really about scarcities. Why am I so worried? What's causing this? When you can be a wise individual and be mature, that's when life happens. That's when you, in the middle of chaos, in the middle of brokenness, you are still experiencing shalom because you are the mature, wise one. That's the beauty of what Jesus is saying here. So if I could rephrase this in Jesus' words, it might look like this. Love abundantly because the world is full of abundance. The world is full of abundance. So how do we do this? Right? This is difficult. How do we do this? Here's a couple hints that I think could help daily for all of us learning to live abundantly, move away from scarcity into abundance. So number one, abundant mentality. I think this one's really good, especially for all of us who freak out over, do I have enough money this month? Do I have this? It's, coronavirus. Learning to live an abundant mentality shifts everything. It starts here, it ends here, and it involves actions. Abundant mentality. Abundant mentality says that there is enough for everyone. So someone else's gain is not your loss. You are not living in opposition to everyone's success. You actually can learn to celebrate. And so here's the thing. When a coworker has a positive experience, when someone wins the lotto, when something good happens to someone else, don't stand at a distance. Try to do what an abundant person does. Step into the party. Celebrate with others. That's the beauty. When you can celebrate when other people experience abundance, your life is full of abundance. It's beautiful. Yeah. Try it. Practice it. Here's another one. Live in gratitude. I think this is so hard to do, but try it. More than anything else, abundance is about how you see life. And so again, look at your life, create lists. Think of all the different things you are grateful for. Because again, we have so much and it's so easy to forget. But take some time in the middle of these moments of scarcity that at least feel like scarcity. Take a few moments and just write a list. Here's some things I am grateful for. And what you'll find is that list gets longer and longer and longer. And you realize, I've actually been living in abundance the whole time and I wasn't even aware of it. Yeah. Another one, prepare for opportunities. I'm finding this in my life a lot lately. When something doesn't come through, when something doesn't open up, I still continue doing the work that's set for me. I always prepare for those opportunities because even though one door closes, and I know it sounds cliche, another always opens. It just does. When you live in abundance, you know it's not just one opportunity. There are going to be hundreds of them. So keep doing the thing that's bringing life. Keep at the journaling. Keep at the hard work of whatever the thing is you're doing that you know your soul needs to do. Keep doing it because at some point, another door will open. It's just how life works. The universe is just set that way. Another one, make the most of every opportunity. Every time you have an opportunity, don't sit back, waste it away. Don't jump at it because you're afraid it'll never happen, but take the opportunity because you're grateful for it. Awesome. The door opened. It finally opened. That's so good. I'm going to fully be present to it now. I'm going to step in it and I'm going to do the very most I can with the opportunity I have. When you do that, you live a life without regret. You begin to be aware of more and more the blessings and the opportunities you've had, and you can live and thrive in abundance. So again, in the words of Jesus, love abundantly because the world is full of abundance. And it really, really is. Just try thinking that way for a week. And what I think will happen? Shalom. Nothing missing, nothing broken. You will live a new kind of reality. And that's the teaching of Jesus. This first chapter 5, I hope you enjoyed it. It is just packed with so much beauty. There's so much goodness to it of how to live a new kind of reality. And I think you're really going to enjoy chapter 6 and 7. Everyone, I love you. Take care. And as always, please consider donating. There's our slide, ethos-church.org/donate. Go there, support what we're doing, share it with everybody you know. And if you want to be part of a live conversation with us, the 1st and the 3rd of every month, email me, tonywerfel@gmail.com, and I'll send you the link, and you can participate live with people from all across the country having really interesting conversations of deconstructions and faith and loss of faith, all of that. You can do that live with us as well. And again, subscribe. Hit that subscribe button, hit the little bell. You'll know when we're live. Everyone, I love you. Take care. Live the life of abundance. It's right here before you. Take care, everyone. Love you. Talk to you again. Bye.